look who's here, ladies and gentlemen. It is Dr. Barry Taylor. Dr.
Good
Barry,
to be with you.
how are you today?
Oh God, it's a 12 on a 0 scale. It's just magic. It's great. Birds are singing in my backyard. Sun is shining. My puppy's chasing squirrels. It's all good.
How can you beat it? How can you beat it, right? It's a little cooler where you are than where we are, as a matter of fact, as I'm looking at it right now.
A little cooler.
Little cooler, yeah.
86, 88.
Well, it's 90 right now in downtown Concord. And,
Wow.
And
okay.
90 in 91 in Dover now. 91 in Dover.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have 84 from what I can see where you are, or at least where I think you are. I don't know. You know, you're a mysterious guy. You're a man of mystery. You're like Austin Powers. You know,
you're the one behind glass, sir.
Bulletproof. It's bulletproof glass.
Beautifully
here.
put, Dr.
Right.
Barry. Beautifully put.
You know, J-Dog and I in the last half hour were celebrating Paul McCartney's birthday.
Okay.
Not that we had any cake or anything. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. No, we didn't have any cake. We were just doing it by playing a few songs and, talking about all that he's accomplished in his illustrious career. 78 today.
What a genius.
Yeah.
What a spokesperson for many of our hearts and spirits, and to put it to music. Just a amazing presence for us to appreciate. Yep.
Have you ever seen him live?
I have not seen him live. He's on my short list.
Yeah.
He should be great.
Oh, he
is.
is.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. I have. I have actually 4 times, but he is terrific. He is terrific. And
okay.
I don't go to see many artists, groups or performers 4 times.
Yeah.
In fact, he's right up there along with the Oak Ridge Boys as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. That's high praise coming from me.
I was going to say, a little bit different genre. Wow.
It is.
Okay.
It is. See what an eclectic person I am?
We knew that.
Oh, you knew that.
We knew that.
I didn't have to tell you.
So his birthday is today. My birthday is Sunday.
Father's Day.
That's right. I get a little bit like Father's Day. I think my boys will call me twice.
Maybe.
Maybe once. Maybe once.
Well, it's nice that it coincides, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Summer solstice,
Yes.
longest day of the year.
There you go. The first full day of summer is Dr. Barry's birthday. I think that's only fitting and proper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there you go.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, happy birthday
Welcome
to you
back.
as well. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Where was I?
How does it feel to be so close? How does it feel to be so close back to J-Dog's and J-Dog's presence?
It is
Must
great.
feel great.
I missed him. I missed him terribly. Of course, he was. He was always in my ear, no matter where I was. But he was always there for me, as he has been for so many years.
But not in person as of until yesterday.
That's right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
But
got J-Dog in one ear and the Secret Service in the other ear. I got it.
That's it. But Dr. Barry, I know you have been working hard. You are a hard-working guy, and we've mentioned your book a number of times, Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. But you're going to have, in the not-too-distant future, a little addendum to that book.
I've been sitting on it since I was able to sit and write it with my eldest son, Luke, 7 years ago. And over the last number of years, and it's been percolating, so I added 6 chapters. Thank you so much for reading them. That was sweet of you. And, I'd say in the next week or two, people can order on my website or order on Amazon if they wish. And, ask away. It's people said, how do you write that? And it's called Waiting Until It's the Only Thing Left for Me to Do. Since I'm not a writer, and it wasn't appropriate for Luke to help me this go round, it just, I waited. It was a couple of years, and then, and how can I match? Because he's such a good wordsmith. But then I'm really blessed. The chapters came through, and then I found an editor to kind of make sense of it. And, now it's kind of off with some reviews of people who read the drafts. And, it'll be available in the next week or 10 days for people to get the revised edition. Same price. What do you think?
Same price. Yeah. Wow.
Same price.
Even for the extra chapters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a bargain. That is a bargain if I ever heard one. That's true. But, of course, this is a little bit different than the rest of the book.
Well, the book, as you read a year or two ago, the first half's on functional medicine. Is a chapter on detoxing and immune system, the paradigm of functional medicine. The second half is what's the distinction between healing and health. And healing has more to do with connection. And I elaborated on a chapter on trust, if you remember, and forgiveness, and the nature of emotions or to experience them. So the chapters that are being added are more in the realm of, so not you need therapy, you got problems, but if you're a human being and you realize whether it's pandemic related, whether it's the incredible lack of partisanship between Republicans and Democrats, if you have a sense that whatever you do in life, one of the things you'd love to do is to bring people together in some way, then what might I want to share with people, given the, not hundreds, but several thousands of people I've been with in the last few years. And therein lies I came up with a chapter on communication, a chapter on how important it is to contribute in some way outside of what will benefit yourself. Mm-hmm. In what way is community a part of, as a portal, as a door to healing? In what way is this whole realm of connection? So many of us have felt isolated and sequestered and alone, different than lonely. So in what way, given the research as people get into their 60s and 70s, when you get to that moment, Ken, I know it's ahead of you, but when people get into their 60s and 70s, community seems to be like one of the number one things to help people age gracefully as they get into their 70s and 80s. So I wrote 6 different chapters on that, and communication is not just speaking clearly, it's how do you listen. So I wrote those chapters from the point of view of how do they dovetail and how do they synergize with the chapters that I wrote on trust and forgiveness and compassion. Well, and then we'll see what people say. I'm ready for the public to vote.
Well, I think the vote will be unanimous. A unanimous approval of what you have added to an already terrific read with the additional chapters that you and Luke have written and put together. So why don't we touch on at least a few of them before we have to wrap things up today, which is not, there's no hurry. We still have a half hour to go here.
Okay.
But
I am open to J-Dogs and your questions. I have no notes in front of me.
Okay.
I only have the sun to come through me and see if I can answer with some kind of clarity.
Well, let's start with community. How about that? Yeah.
Okay.
And you talk about there are so many different ways that we can contribute to our community. And, I think, as you pointed out, that many people who contribute to their community are, some of the people that have been around for a while, and can appreciate what the community means and, all that it has to offer. And
right.
I always think of the number of, volunteer opportunities that there are in communities that most people might not even be aware of, but there are a lot of volunteering opportunities.
Yeah, which dovetails on the chapter on contribution and how important giving to something else that will not necessarily benefit you, but it will benefit you because it's such a delicious, heart-opening feeling to give to others or to some purpose that's something other than yourself. So community, I think, speaks, Ken, to this sense of our basic human need to belong. Mm-hmm. there are certain animals I talk about in that chapter. I don't know if you and I have seen many platypuses in our life. Have I ever seen one? I don't think so. Or bears. I ran into one bear in Glacier National Park that was about 6 feet away. That was an interesting story. But we didn't talk too much. It was like, holy cow, I think I should go in the other direction. But bears and platypuses are examples of animals that seem to really thrive being alone. And I think there's something pretty inherent to us as human beings, despite some of us needing retreat time, no matter how good your marriage is, no matter how good your brothers and sisters are, no matter what kind of family unit you have, that there's some human need to belong that's not being needy. It's I don't want to say spiritual to kind of get it off track and have people think of something too esoteric. But whether it's your church, what's different than your church? How about a bowling league? How about a golf club? How about a country club? How about, okay, you work for the United Way, or you work for Make-A-Wish Foundation, or there's some collection of people who have some common, it's a bridge club. It's not that altruistic. You're just getting together with some cronies to play cards. There's something about, as we age, not to say people in their 20s and 30s don't have a need for community, but it's very clearly scientifically proven now that as people get older, their need for community, maybe because when you're in your 50s and 60s, people start leaving. They start losing their body. And some people deal with it really well. You lose your community of high school. You lose your community of college. You lose your community of, you move from one city to another. And, maybe if you were brought up by an Army Marine person, you have a lot of experience in your life, moving and changing. Some people don't deal well with losing community at all. It's hard for them to recreate that sense of purposefulness by being part of something larger. So it was from that point of view that I was talking about feeling connected, different chapter on connection, as you remember, that the sense of community, which has been so tested in this COVID moment, it's so tested by, the words sheltering in place, and then I've kidded with you in the last few weeks, several months, about sheltering in grace. It's like, maybe easier to say shelter in grace, but it really demands a whole lot of intentionality given the restraint we've had to move about. Now, that would be in the other 49 states. It's obviously not in New Hampshire. J-Dog and I were talking about people in New Hampshire taking live free or die really seriously. Don't tell me not to wear a mask. I wear a mask if I want to wear a mask, and if I don't want to wear a mask, I won't. But regarding community, it's something that can be a real key to people thriving. If one aspect of healing is you really feel like you're thriving, different than just surviving, different than just waking up and kind of getting through the day, but you get up, and whether it's once a week because going to church is still really meaningful for you, or if it's not church, we don't have to make the community, super serious, but you're with other people you laugh with, you create with, you talk with, and it's an important factor, Ken. It really is.
No doubt. I mean, that's why you see, people gathering at their favorite, whether it be their favorite McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or Burger King or Wendy's, and, getting together with their
protesting
friends.
At the State House.
Well, yeah, that too. But you see a lot. I know my mother for many years, and I think it really kept her young. Went up to a local McDonald's in Massachusetts, and and met with her friends of a similar age, and they shared stories and what happened to them yesterday and what's going to happen today, and I think it kept her young to have some place to go.
Exactly.
In some of her later years.
Exactly. And maybe your great-great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, maybe in the 1800s, early 1900s, when families were more extended, maybe more, if we stereotype, Middle Eastern families or Indian, like the Indian continent, or certain Asian families that still exist where the extended families are cousins take care of cousins. Not that it doesn't happen in our Western culture. But when I think of my grandmother when I was much, much younger, I'm going back 50, 60 years, and she was in a nursing home, and her roommate painted calligraphy, of which I have some in my hallway, my grandmother's roommate. And the nursing home was, she no longer was like living alone in the home with me and my parents, but she was then in a community. And wow, when you look at assisted living and or rehab centers and or nursing homes, it's another way for people who, well, maybe they're kind of forced into it because they're a little infirm and they need to get help taking their meds. But it's also a way just for them to be able to speak and converse and play bingo and do things. It's another kind of community. So I wanted to make it a bit intentional, whether somebody is 30, 40, 50, or they're a little older than that, like you and I, where they recognize that setting some time aside without there being the right amount of time is fulfilling something that actually is youthing as opposed to aging. That being part of a community, whether it's your community of lawyers, your community of doctors, your community of radio announcers, your community of radio producers, there's this sense of wanting to be with other people who have a purposefulness. You don't have to agree with them all the time, but it's really valuable. And it was interesting to just pray, meditate, and let those words come through me to kind of have people look at, at the end of each chapter, Ken, I've got a couple of these writing exercises for people to kind of just take a few moments and write down. So when you left high school, when you left college, when you left your fraternity, when you left the Army, when you left whatever, was that easy for you? Or are you the kind of people where getting out of a community and getting into another community is hard or easy? Just as a kind of tickle to have you think.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. The questions at the end of the chapters are terrific and makes you reflect a little bit on what you've just read or some of your thoughts. I think it's great. It's a terrific format.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
It is. And so how about contribution?
I'm skewed, Ken. When I was 5, and somebody, I'm sorry, my brain's not working, I don't remember who, could have been my mother or father, could have been some older person, said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think I was supposed to say I want to be a fireman or I want to be a policeman. I think that was the right answer. Yeah. I remember saying I want to be a philanthropist. Sorry, a little precocious. And as I've grown up, I've realized not only the joy of generosity when you don't expect much of anything or nothing in return, and you get a sense of seeing the effect of contributing and giving of yourself, your time, your money, an act, you help somebody clean out the garage, and then contributing to yourself as well. That's sometimes for many of us harder to give to yourself than it is to give to others. But I again wanted to position the chapter of contribution of something that opens us, because we all have a sense of whether it's a friend or a business mate or a lover or a relative gives us something, and it's the kind of gift, how would you describe getting something like that, Ken? When somebody just gives you something, how do you feel? How would you describe that?
I usually feel pretty good about it. I feel great.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like when you receive. And so in contributing, you're giving somebody the gift of an experience, not just the sweater or helping them move that sofa, or not just here's $25, you put something on Facebook or you put something on, here's a community that I like to support, and so, okay, I'll give you $10, I'll give you $25, I'll give you $100, and money. That's okay. That's one way. But you also are giving somebody a gift of them experiencing what you just said, which it kind of lights people up. It kind of has somebody feel welcomed. But then there's also the experience of giving, especially when you don't feel obligated to, especially when you don't feel like you're going to buy something with it, like they're going to give you something in return. So again, I have been praying and listening to the people who take my classes and, seek my counsel about what about if we really just pause and the chapters, as you know, are like, what are they, a page and a half, 2 pages?
Yeah.
It's not like there's a lot that I wrote. But with the exercises on the back of the contribution chapter, it's like, where are the places that you've given freely? And where are the places you wanted to give and what you wanted to give wasn't received that well? Just to kind of have people get a sense of, it's another opportunity, since one of the hallmarks of healing is connecting, either connecting to yourself, some life purpose, some mission you have in life that you want to bring to bear, because it just feels right and congruent to you, and especially the gift that you're giving for others. So, as long as we're all careful, because sometimes, I'll take it to an extreme, Ken, if you give too much, somebody might feel suffocated. If you give too much, it's important to say, somebody actually doesn't even know what to do with it. It's like, rather than, oh, my God, I'm so surprised, thank you. It's then they unfortunately are wired up in their experience that now they have to give something back to you. So that's a caution. Just be careful. But on the other hand, I'm looking at, where are we in terms of taking care of the earth? Where are we in terms of politicians that we feel have values that are congruent with our values? Where are we with people who are helping others who might have muscular dystrophy or might have multiple sclerosis or might have cancer, or I don't want to give to somebody all they're doing is drug research, but I want to give to somebody because they're doing the nutrition research, or whatever your value is. I just wanted to write a few pages on it's something that takes us out of the busy day-to-day, ordinary to-do list and just pause and give yourself space to say, whether they thank me or not, whether they feel obligated to give me something back, that's going to be up to them. I just want to give because I love giving,
Yeah, exactly.
Bring somebody a picnic, ask somebody, hey, can I bring you a glass of water? Doesn't have to be big.
Right, exactly. No, and you know what? Today, you mentioned picnic. Today is, what is it, J-Dog? International
Picnic Day.
There you go. So you hit on the right thing. Why not bring somebody a picnic today? I like that.
Today's International Picnic Day.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's every June 18th. I don't know. But International Day of the Picnic. So,
and Paul McCartney's birthday.
That's
Happy
right.
birthday, Paul.
It coincides. But yeah. No, it's exactly right, and especially when you're not feeling especially obligated to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it gives you, I think, it gives you as good a feeling, if not better, than the recipient.
It has that possibility.
Yeah.
Just see if one of your values is generosity. See if your value, and I can think of people who say, well, if I had more money, I'd give more. Well, guess what? You have the same 24 hours, 7 days a week that I do, that everyone does. So, give a half hour a week, give a half hour a month, give 15, the contribution philanthropically does not have to be a financial one.
All right.
It can happen in many, many ways where it could be in a conversation. Hey, I'm just reaching out. We haven't spoken in a couple of weeks. I just want to get a sense of how are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything, hey, you call somebody you love in the morning and say, hey, anything you want me to focus on today? I just want to hold you in my prayers. I just want to hold you in my heart. Is there anything I want to blow some wind in your sail? That's a contribution, and you're not doing anything. You just, take 10 minutes and say, and somebody says, well, I got a meeting here. And okay, great. I'm going to be on your shoulder whispering great things in your ear for that meeting. That's a contribution.
No,
could be.
Even,
unless somebody says, get the hell off my shoulder. I don't want
right.
you sitting there.
Then you kind of get the idea, right? Yeah. That sends a message right there. But even these days, just send. Some people are very appreciative of a simple text message these days.
Yes.
You know? I mean, a phone call might be nicer and a little bit more personal, but some people just appreciate a good morning or a hello in some way with a text message.
I'm thinking of you today. Have a good one.
Yeah. That's
Smiley face. Yep.
In
Yep.
some cases, it doesn't take any more than that. And how easy and simple that is, huh?
For you, it might be. For me, it might be. It's a certain conditioning. It's a certain way of. I'm not wired up to think that has time. When the thought comes up, God, I really want to send a message to one or two or three people in the morning. They're all special to me, which is different than having the thought and then I don't have time for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Dr. Barry Taylor is with us, and we're talking about some of the new material that will be coming out in his book, Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. Some new chapters. We're talking about some of them today. If you would like to contribute to the conversation, give us a call. Make your contribution to the program. 866-823-1077. Dr. Barry, hang in there. We'll take a break, and Cailin Company will continue after these words on 1077 The Pulse and News Talk 98.1 WTSN. Dr. Barry Taylor is our guest, and you can reach him at drbarrytaylor.com. Get more information there. The book, the newly expanded book coming soon, is Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. Hey, let's talk about connection, because we're connected here. People these days, are they more connected because of all the platforms we have, or are we less connected than we once were?
Yeah, isn't that the question of the day? Yeah. So when you were talking about text a few moments ago, before the break,
right,
I was thinking that, and I don't have the rule book for this, Ken. It's just a thought. It's in creation. There are some things that are not text-worthy, and it's amazing that some people will text anything as if that mode of communication is, I'm going to break up with you. I want a divorce, and you can text that. So I think the point is, in the way that you and I can go on the internet and take a tour of the Louvre, or this COVID sheltering in place, we can look up and go on a safari. I mean, it's just amazing what we have access to. And at the same time, I think there's something to be said that there's something fundamental about us human beings that we live in this illusion of separateness because we trust our physical eye. I trust that, you're in Concord and I'm here. So there's something about the ways that we connect. I'm listening to people in my Love Your Body workshops when people ask me to do nutritional counseling for specific ailments, that they may be getting up and going to work, but they've lost the connection of the purposefulness of that. Let's just wave our magic wand. They're actually doing what they love to do, but because of certain things, not you and J-Dog, but certain people who they've got to make room for and accommodate. Maybe somebody hurt their feelings. I think there's something about people forgetting purpose, and that shows up as it feeds into this human dilemma that, without getting real airy-fairy, that I am you. In the Upanishads, in Indian text, kind of, comparable to the Western Bible, the scriptures of the Hindus, there's when I know who I am you. When I don't know who I am, I serve you. So we have this unbelievable, do you remember those big, clunky phones, that were like $2,000 like 25 years ago? The early things, and now it's like hands-free, and you can, I can talk to my son in Vietnam. And so there's this, wow, I'm more connected than ever. But for many people, who are in relationships and marriages because of convenience and real estate and financial holdings and children, and they've kind of lost the spark, or they're in jobs, not like they're drifting because they're in the wrong job, but they're in the right job. But they're getting, and now when you speak to them, well, why are you still working? Well, I need the money. I haven't made enough money for retirement. There are so many things that are signposts that people are actually feeling less connected. And therefore, some people, a lot of people in New Hampshire are major hikers, major outdoor people. And, you've got the stunning beauty of the lakes and all sorts of things in your state that is different than the lakes.
Yeah.
So I wrote a chapter on what it's like and the kind of energy that it takes when the normal person doesn't wake up and constantly have thoughts of, I feel separate. I mean, that kind of phrase does not go through our head. But if you listen to people and how hard they're working to make money, and I'm not making that wrong, that people shouldn't work hard to make money. When you look at the ways that people need to drink so much, and I'm not saying nobody should drink. I'm not a teetotaler. I'm not saying that people shouldn't work hard. But there are so many ways that people cope and do things out of obligation. Dare I say, how many people go to church because they feel obligated to go to church, as opposed to they're going to church because that is a sacred place that they've imbued and have a closer connection to Christ, or if they're Jewish, to Moses or whoever, prophets that they like to have whisper in their ear, which is different than going to some place of worship because their parents went, or because it feeds their identity. Well, I am that, fill in the blank. I'm Episcopalian or I'm whatever. So I think loss of connection at the experiential level and is something that some people work on, and they get reconnected by gardening, or they get reconnected by yoga, or they get reconnected by reading the Bible, or they get reconnected by contributing and being philanthropic. I mean, there's no right way. But when I look at the people, again, when my population is skewed, because the people who see me have asthma and allergies and weight and endometriosis and cancer and all sorts of things that they're looking for. Hey, is there something other than a drug? What vitamins and herbs do you have? But when I look at the healing part of the connection of how disconnected people are to their body, they've given the rights and rules to a doctor or to a surgeon or to somebody else, which is kind of at the core of Love Your Body programs, is how, me, I love to make jokes. How can I design a program for 3 weeks where the gift at the end is for you to be really connected to your capacity to heal? So I think it gets played out in a lot of ways, intimacy, sexually, and it certainly gets played out in terms of the amount of drugs people take. All right, I'm a naturopath. How about the amount of vitamins that people take? And they take it because they're not that. I'm not saying people don't. Some people don't need to take a fair amount of vitamins sometimes for a couple of months or 6 months or a year, given they've been eating cornflakes instead of the box. Remember, they should be eating the box. There's more nutrition in the cornflakes box than in the cornflakes.
That's what you've told us.
Yeah. But we haven't grown up in a culture where we listen well to body sensations. And then when our body speaks as uncomfortably and loudly, and then we can't ignore it, then what we listen to, we usually are judging like, well, that shouldn't be going on. So, again, we don't listen like, well, what's the blessing in disguise? And I think it comes from early on as children that we're here, have this ice cream, stop crying. Here, have this chocolate chip cookie. I remember I saw a Mary Tyler Moore show. I tell this story sometimes. It wasn't Mary Tyler Moore a gift? Wasn't Dick Van Dyke fabulous? You remember how much we used to watch those shows, Ken?
Oh, absolutely.
And a little boy comes out of his bedroom and says, Mommy, I'm really scared. And Mary Tyler says, there's nothing to be scared about. Okay, there's a year or two of therapy. Your child comes out and says you're scared, and you discount the child and tell the child there's nothing to be scared about. okay, the child will take a couple of years to work through that one. And then when the kid's still crying and says, I'm scared, can you imagine I actually remember this show of, 50, 60 years ago? And I'm scared. Mary Tyler Moore goes to the table that she had gotten up from and said, here's a chocolate chip cookie. Stop crying. That would be an example of we're disconnected from feelings. And when we have feelings, that's why in the book I wrote 7 years ago, there's a whole chapter on emotions, is like how do you listen to emotions with some sense of acceptance rather than this emotion is so uncomfortable, all we want to do is take something or do something to get out of it. So thank you for asking. One of my joys is to get people to recognize that even if you think you're disconnected, I think the reality is you're always connected. The question is to what?
So how did Richie feel about that chocolate chip cookie?
The writer of that show, Ken, did not tell us in the next episode. And if I would have written the next episode, fast forward 3, 4, 5 years, little Richie, if that was his name, would have probably been 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight, just like I was when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Because I used to take the whole stack of chocolate chip cookies out of the cellophane, put the whole stack of chocolate chip cookies in a glass, and pour milk over it so I could eat the whole stack of chocolate chip cookies out of the glass with a spoon.
That's what you did, huh?
That's what I did. And that was my way of disconnecting. By the way, I don't remember, Ken, if that was before or after I had 2 or 3 or 4 Twinkies.
Okay. But you saw the evil of your ways. You turned your life around, Dr. Barry.
Well, for me, there were difficult feelings growing up. My mother and father were great. They did as good a job. There wasn't a manual, despite maybe they read Dr. Spock. Maybe they didn't. And, for me, sugar and food was a coping strategy. It was a way that I didn't have somebody to share my uncomfortable feelings with that could just get them, without, I use the Mary Tyler Moore show as a metaphor of all of us being dissed, all of us being invalidated, like what you're connecting to, what you're sharing, I don't agree with you. You have no right to be angry. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. And those are emotional examples, let alone physical examples of it's a different kind of way of walking around the earth, feeling connected to the earth, feeling connected to this is your body. You don't have to only eat sprouts, tofu, and carrot juice. Doesn't mean you never have a piece of pepperoni pizza with a good glass of elderberry wine. Have to get that in, Ken.
Yes, of course.
But you have a certain ease. You have a certain relationship, like your body is your ally. And uncomfortable emotions are to teach us things as opposed to they're just bad, we've got to get rid of them. So I loved writing the chapter on connection, and I loved it's a little bit longer, yes, by a page or a half a page.
Yeah, something like that. But we're gonna have to save cooperation for next time.
And communication. Good. Okay.
Yes, because we're running out of time, Dr. Barry, and we will save cooperation and communication for our next session. But appreciate everything you do for us, and you can find Dr. Barry at drbarrytaylor.com. The book and the soon-to-be expanded book, Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation, Health, and Healing. Thank you, Dr. Barry.
J-Dog.
As
Thanks,
always.
Ken. God bless.
All right.
Thanks, Dr. Barry.
Bye-bye.